for some elasticity questions on price elasticity and income elasticity. So, and are you ready to become a millionaire? Let's play. For $200. The PED for game consoles is minus 1.2. It can be concluded that 10% reduction in price would lead to a percentage change in the demand of A, minus 8.3%, B, plus 8.3%, C, plus 12%, or D, minus 12%. So, remember, the key thing here for most of these questions is to use the formula. And make sure to note whether the information that they've given you is a percentage or an actual number, which you need to calculate the percentage change from. So in this case, I shall give you 5 more seconds. You know what? I'll even write out the formula here for you. Oh, actually no, I won't do that. You should know it. Okay. I'll give you 5 more seconds before I reveal the answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we got the right answer. So it should be C, plus 12%. So in order to calculate this, again, we just look at the percentage changes and the formula for PED. So let me just write this out here. PED equals percentage change in the quantity demand over percentage change in the price, right? So we know that PED is minus 1.2. And then we know that there would be a 10% reduction in price. So the percentage change in price down here would be minus 10%. So now all we have to do is to find the percentage change in quantity demanded. So in order to solve an equation, if you remember from GCSE maths, we just need to multiply both sides by minus 10% to get rid of the bottom here. So if we do that, then we're going to get minus 1.2 times minus 10% equals percentage change in QD. And then we're going to get what? 12%. And it will be plus 12% because if you've got two minuses, they will multiply to become a positive number. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's why the answer would be plus 12%. Next question. For $2,000. And you still have 3 lifelines. The income elasticity of demand for fresh chickens is plus 1.5. If there is a 5% increase in consumer income, what would happen to the market equilibrium? A, the price would be higher, or the market price would be higher, but then the market quantity will remain unchanged. B, both the price and the quantity and the market for fresh chickens would be higher. C, both price and quantity will remain unchanged. Or D, price would become lower but quantity would become higher. So for this question, what you want to do is to think about the relationship between income and demand in the market. If income elasticity of demand is positive, would demand increase or decrease if you are getting richer? Would you buy more fresh chickens or less fresh chickens? I probably won't buy fresh chickens either way, because I'll probably get some oven ready meals. Okay, anyway, so I'll give you 5 more seconds to decide on your answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the answer is B. Yes, good job, Lola, you got it. That is absolutely correct. So if income elasticity of demand for chickens is positive, that means that, so percentage change in QD and percentage change in income. Right? So if this YED is positive, it means that when there's a positive increase in income, so there's a positive increase in the quantity demanded for the product. And therefore, this means if there's an increase in our income, people would buy more chickens and there will be a higher demand. And as we know, if there is a higher demand in the market, there would be a higher market price. Yeah. And a higher quantity as well. So both the price and quantity would be higher. Let's get on to the harder ones, shall we? So we've got 3 goods here with different income elasticities of demand. It may be concluded that an increase in incomes will lead to A, a decrease in demand for goods Z only, B, an increase in demand for all 3 goods, C, a more than proportionate increase in demand for good Y, or D, an equal percentage increase in demand for good X. So a lot of information here. I'll give you some time to dissect the question, like dissecting a rabbit. Doesn't sound very good. So if there's a positive income elasticity, what does that mean? And after figuring out whether it's positive, what does the numbers mean? So it's always good to work back and eliminate the answers before you actually choose them. So pick out the wrong ones first, and you have a higher likelihood. Okay, so I will give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 1. Do you think you've got it? Okay, let's see if the answer is correct. Okay, so if there is 2 positive income elasticities here, and then we've got 1 negative here for good Z. First, let's look at B. So an increase in demand for all 3 goods. It's not going to lead to an increase in demand for all 3 goods, because if your income increases, you would buy less of good Z. So if we use the formula again, the percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in income, right? So for Z, it's got a negative income elasticity of demand. So this means that either one of these numbers are going to be negative, right? So most likely if incomes increase, so that means there's a positive percentage change in income, then the upper number must be negative in order for YED to be negative, right? So in this case, then there would be a decrease in the demand for the good for Z when the incomes increase. So that's why it can't be B. Oh, whoops, don't worry. And then let's see whether it's C. A more than proportionate increase in demand for good Y. So what this is saying is that it would be elastic, right, for good Y. So the bigger the number, the more elastic it is. So for for a good to be elastic, it needs to be greater than 1, right? And for it to be inelastic, it's got to be smaller than 1. So in this case, we would see that for Y, the number is smaller than 1, which means it is inelastic. And if it is smaller than 1, that means for this fraction, the change in the income, so this number is got to be bigger than the number on top, right? So the percentage change in the income needs to be greater than the percentage change in how much we buy. So therefore, it means that our incomes must increase much more for us to buy a little bit more of the product. And it won't be a proportionate increase, a more than proportionate increase in demand. It should be a more than proportionate increase in income for good Y. Yeah, so it won't be C. And then for D, an equal percentage increase in demand for good X. So again, that's not right? Because all of the numbers are different. So that means it won't be an equal percentage increase in demand for good X. And also, if they mean an equal percentage increase, it means that, say if your incomes increase by 5%, then you buy more of it by 5%. So then it would be equal to 1, your YED. But in this case, the YED of good X isn't equal to 1. But it's at 2, so it's not going to be an equal. It will be a more than proportionate increase in demand. So it's not D. Then it's got to be A. So I would say this question is very, very difficult. Actually, this should be like the $1 million question. So, and let's look at A as well, a decrease in demand for good Z only, so that would be correct because Z is the only one that's negative. So if you increase your incomes, you would buy less of it since it's an inferior good with a negative YED. Okay, next. For $64,000. Oh, and don't worry about getting these things wrong. It's like a learning process. It's good to get things wrong. That's how we learn. So the PED for petrol used by car drivers in an economy is estimated to be minus 0.2. Which of the following is the most likely reason? A. A tax on petrol. B. Cycle lanes on many roads. C. Few bus and rail services. Or D. Low household incomes. This question might be slightly better. So I'll give you 10 more seconds. 10, 5, 1. So it can't be A or C, I think. Yeah. Good thinking. So if we use 50-50. Okay, let's use 50-50 for this one. So 50-50 says it's not A and it's not C. Right, that's not very helpful for you. Okay, what did I do? I should have like crossed out another one. So 50-50 says it's not A or B. Okay, then that's gotta be D, right? Okay. D, is that your final answer? Oh, it's not. Wait, what happened? I should have done this question with you. Okay, let me explain. So, the PED for petrol used by car drivers is estimated to be minus 0.2. What does this mean? So, if the PED is smaller than 1, it means that it is inelastic. Yeah. So this means if you decrease prices, so again, remember the formula. If you decrease prices by like 1%, then the increase in the quantity would be even less, like 0.5%. That means it's inelastic, like the quantity is not very sensitive to the change in the market price. So, if that is the case, it's asking why petrol is so inelastic for car drivers. So, the reason being is because petrol is a necessity, yeah. But there are other factors that affect the PED. So namely, the number of substitutes in the market. So what other products can we use instead of petrol? The time period. So these are just some of the other factors that would affect PED, right? So let's have a look at answers now. So A, a tax on petrol. So it's not going to be a tax on petrol because the tax does not affect the elasticity of the product. Yeah, so we won't include the tax within the elasticity, so it won't be A. And then B, cycle lanes on many roads. So if there are many cycle lanes, this means that the car drivers can like bike to wherever they work instead of driving cars to work. So this would be an alternative. And the more alternatives there are, it should be more elastic. So the number should be greater than 1. But now in this case, it is smaller than 1. So it's not going to be B because we see that the demand for petrol is inelastic. And the reason why it would be more elastic if there are more substitutes is because, say, for elastic, if you increase price by 1%, then you would buy a lot less. So then the quantity is very sensitive to the price if it is elastic. So that would be the case if you've got many options. So if the price increases by 1%, then you can say, fine, I'm not driving to work. I'm cycling to work. A cycling pog. Then in that case, it should be more elastic, right? Because cycling is like an alternative. So, and then D, low household incomes, this isn't to do with the price elasticity. Yeah. So this is to do with the income elasticity. So we can ignore that one. So as a result, it's got to be C. So if there are fewer bus and rail services, then as a result, there will be less alternatives for people and they need to rely on petrol even more. So that's why it would be more inelastic. So even if you decrease the price by a lot, or even if you increase the price by a lot, you would still rely on petrol. Okay, next one. For $500,000. A supermarket reduces the price of tins of biscuits from £4 to £3 per tin. Subsequently, the sales increase from 200 tins to 300 tins daily. The price elasticity of demand is A, -1, B, -0.5, C, -2, or D, -0.25. Okay, so pretty much a math question here. And again, we would make use of the formula. But this time, they have given us the actual numbers instead of the percentages. So, what do you think you have to do? I'll give you another like 20 seconds. It was quite a bit of maths for this question actually. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you got the answer? Okay, so let's try to do this together. If we have the formula out here, the price elasticity of demand is equals to percentage change in quantity demand over percentage change in price. Yeah. So first, let's calculate the change in the number of tins that are being demanded. So the new one is 300, and then we minus the old value divided by the old value, and then we times by 100% to get the percentage change in the quantity, right? So we can see that this would equal to a half times 100 equals to 50% increase in quantity. So we can put here equals plus 50% increase in quantity divided by, and then let's do the percentage change in price. So the price fell from £4 to £3. So it's 3 is the new one minus 4, the old value, divided by 4 times 100%. Then what are we going to get? So that's 25 minus 25%. Yeah. So then the percentage change in price would be minus 25%. So therefore, the PED would be plus 50% divided by minus 25%, which is minus 2%. Yeah. Or minus 2. We don't need the percentage. So yeah, it would be C. Okay. Are you ready for the final question? Income elasticity of demand for baked beans is 0.4. Weekly sales of beans are 73,000 tins. If household incomes fall by 5%, weekly sales of baked bean tins would be A, 63875, B, 71540, C, 74460, or D, 82125. This seems like a very numerical question for baby robots. I'm not sure why I'm thinking of like robots in nurseries, but I guess this is what they would be doing in kindergarten, because they would be like doing ridiculously hard questions. Okay, so this one we need to recall the formula for income elasticity of demand to calculate this. Yeah. So I'll give you like 10 seconds, something like that. And these numbers look so random, right? It's just like randomly generated 5 digits. But they aren't. One of them is the correct answer. One of them is your doorway to a new life with $1 million. Okay. Your time is up. Have you got the final answer? No, it would be C. Yeah, 74,460. Wait, should it be C? Let's see. Okay, so income elasticity of demand for baked beans is minus 0.4. Weekly sales of beans are 73,000. So yeah. So you can see in this case, if it is minus 0.4, it means that it is an inferior good, right? So if your incomes go up, then that means you would buy less baked beans. But it also works the other way around. So if your income goes down, then you would buy more baked beans because it's an inferior good. So if your incomes fall by 5%, then you buy more baked beans. So the answer should be more than 73,000, right? So then it's not going to be A or B already without doing any calculations. But now let's do the calculation. So YED equals percentage change in quantity demanded or percentage change in incomes, and then that is going to be equal to we know YED is minus 0.4 here, and we also know that the household incomes fell by 5%, right? So we know here is minus 5%. So remember the minus. A lot of students might forget the minus. And then we can get the percentage change in quantity demanded by multiplying both sides by 5%. So the percentage change in quantity demanded is going to be minus 0.4 times minus 5%. So it's going to be what? What do you think? Any ideas? 2%, right? And now we know the percentage change, then we would be able to plug it back in to the percentage change formula. Because we know that this is positive 2%, that means the number of tins should increase by 2% if incomes decrease by 5%, right? So if it is increasing by 2%, then it's probably this number anyway. But if we need to write it out, then we can do the new value, which we don't know. We can just put it as x, and then minus the old value, 73,000 tins, divided by the old value, 73,000 tins, and then times 100, and it's going to be equal to 2%. Yeah. So if we solve that, then we would be able to get the answer pretty much. Or actually, a quicker way of doing it is to just do 1.02, which is an increase of 2% times 73,000. And then you should also get the value here of 74,460. Okay, cool. So I hope at least you get to walk away with some money today, but not like, hopefully not a crazy amount of money, because then I'll be broke, unless someone from the chat is willing to finance.